I'm going to now turn it over to Reverend Arlene.
Hello, welcome everybody. I am glad that you're all here. So we're in a series, and the series is based on the 12 steps of recovery programs. Because there's so much that's going on, I do have a 12-step background, and I have found that the steps are an amazing way to deal with all problems, whether you have any kind of addictions or not. It's just a great spiritual program that's practical and spiritual and allows us to combine the two. Because for me, spirituality doesn't do me any good if I can't use it every day in my life. You know, I go to a mountaintop, go to a retreat center. I've been in Buddhist places. I've meditated for a month in silence. And, you know, you come out of the silence and whatever you have in your life is still there. So the meditation doesn't change anything. It may calm me down, but everything else. And so for me, I have found that the practicality of the 12 steps and the unity principles is a great way for me to deal with whatever life brings me. And sometimes that's a lot. It certainly has been a challenge since I've been here. And it's naturally, there's things happen in life no matter what you do. I got an email from someone the other day, and she was talking about my car being stolen. And she said, "I can't believe that happened to you." And I said, "Why?" I said, "They didn't try it. They didn't point at me and go, 'Oh, let's steal that person's car because she just got here to Montreal, and why not let's steal her car and her belongings inside and just give her that check.'" They didn't pick on me. They just happened to randomly pick 5 cars, and mine was one of them because they liked the kind of car it was. It was a Toyota. So I said, you know, the world, what I have learned from recovery is that the world is not out to get me. I am not a victim. In other words, when things happen, they happen because they do. Life happens, you know? And so it's being able to deal with that. So the first step was the fact that we're powerless. You know, we're powerless over everything that happens outside of us. We're powerless over other people. We're powerless over the weather. We're powerless over the fact our car gets stolen or it doesn't get stolen. We're powerless over the fact that it rains on us when we're not prepared or it doesn't. We're powerless over the fact that people we love die. We're powerless over the fact that our jobs may change, or there's so many things in life that we're powerless over. And once we realize that, we stop worrying and complaining about the things we have no control over. You know, we have in our life often unmanageability, and we have that because we think we can control these things. And when we can't, we get upset. And we try all kinds of things. And the more things we try, the more frustrated we get. And so once we realize we don't have any control over that, we come into acceptance. And once we accept that fact, that stuff doesn't eat away at us like it tends to when we're trying to control it. You know, my biggest lesson since I've been here is the fact that I don't have control over much of anything, you know, and things just sometimes they happen. They happen on the rich, they happen on the poor, they happen on these people, they happen on that. They just happen. And when I accept that, I have a lot more peace. And when I surrender to the fact that I don't have any control over this stuff, but there is a power greater than me that gives me the strength to be able to deal with what life brings me. You see, I can't change it. The only thing I can change is how I deal with what happens in my life. That I can change, and I can do that through a power greater than myself, which I call God. And God has a way when I can't deal with something. God has a way of just giving me the strength to just do what the next thing is that I have to do. And that is, to me, one of the greatest things about having a relationship with a God, of my understanding, is the fact that that God has the power that I don't have. And once I realize that, I can turn things over. And we talked about that last week. We talked about turning over to this God our life, our will. And sometimes that's hard for us to do because let's say we're having financial issues and we think, well, you know, my bank account shows that I only, and that word only is a dangerous word, I only have this much. And if I turn it over to God, you know, God's not going to give me money, but God will bring us opportunities. God will bring us ideas. God will bring us insights. And those are the things that help us deal with something like not enough money in the bank, or maybe a job or a relationship and all of that. We have this power that is like divine mind, and we can tap into that at any moment. And that divine mind gives us all the ideas we need to be able to do everything we need to do. So that are basically the first 3 steps in recovery. But we come to, you know, in the 12-step program, there is a step that talks about taking a personal inventory. And a lot of people who aren't in 12-step, they don't understand what the need is to do an inventory. But the thing is that we come into this world and we deal with whatever life gives us based on the stuff we carry into ourselves. We all carry baggage. We all carry a bunch of stuff with us. It's our childhood, early adulthood, whatever. And until we clear out the baggage, we don't get to really move on and see what is there for us. So there's a story in the Bible with Jesus, and he talks about the fact, and he talks about not putting new wine in old wineskins. So back in Jesus's time, they used to have carriers where they carried their wine, and in it was a skin inside to hold the wine. And so what Jesus was saying is you don't take brand new wine and put it into something that's old and has been rotting and everything else. And so for us in unity, we believe in affirmations, we believe in affirming what we want. But if we are carrying old stuff, we take these new ideas and we put it in, and what happens? The old part of us goes, that's not going to work. That affirmation's not going to work. That idea is not going to work. So we have to get rid of the old stuff. In unity, we call that denials. Mm-hmm. You know, in 12-step, we call it an inventory. So a denial is denying the power of our old thinking. Mm-hmm. It is denying the fact that my old thinking may be, I'm never going to have enough money, or I'm too old to do that, or I don't have the education, or, you know, because of what happened to me when I was a child, I could never have a decent life, and all of this. We have to get rid of those old skins, which is our old ideas, so that when we put an affirmation in, it sticks. Because if the old part of me says, and this is me before I got into recovery, before I got into unity, I always thought, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. I was told as a child I wasn't smart. My ex-husband used to tell me I wasn't smart. In fact, he used to call me dummy and other names. And so I thought, well, I can't learn anything, I can't do anything. And so when it came time for me to go to ministerial school, luckily, I had begun to see that I am okay. You know, I can do this. Just because my sister called me stupid when I was a kid because I couldn't understand algebra, or my husband called me stupid because he had this really high IQ and my IQ wasn't as high as his. Like, who cares, you know? I mean, really, who cares what your IQ is? But anyway, I thought I couldn't learn, but the fact of the matter is I had to change that thinking. So I had to first deny the thinking that I was stupid before I can affirm the fact that I could learn. I was open and receptive because God gives me that ability, because that ability comes from a higher power and not from myself. So we have to deny that old thinking. And in 12 step, it's doing an inventory. We look at our past, because it's like when we carry around things such as abuse or problems in previous relationships or in previous jobs, when we carry that around with us, it's like taking a bunch of garbage and putting it in your car, if you have a car, which I don't have right now, but at one time I had a car. It's like putting the garbage into the car, rolling up all the windows, locking the doors, and driving around with it. Well, after a while, that garbage is going to really smell. It's going to stink. And the thing is, that's so ridiculous. I'm driving around with this garbage, and it never dawns when we do that, that we can open the windows and air it out and throw the garbage out. We throw the garbage out, and guess what happens? We're not driving around in a stinky car anymore. Well, that's what happens with us. We carry our old garbage inside of us, and it starts to fester and gets yucky, and we feel yucky, and we don't feel good about ourselves, and we don't think we could do this, or we don't think we can do that. And so we have to open the windows to our soul and get rid of it. And how do we get rid of it? Well, 12-step program, they have learned, and not just 12-step program, almost all religions have some kind of confession or talking to someone or getting rid of that. You know, in Catholicism, you go to confession, you give it to the priest tells you to do some Hail Marys, and you're all resolved. Wish it was that easy, but you know, that's what they do. In Judaism, on Yom Kippur, they go to the water and they throw all their stuff from the year before, all their stuff they want to get rid of. So they don't carry it into the new year. They throw it into the water. In a lot of religions, there is that, because there's something that happens when we get rid of all this garbage we carry around with us and we turn it out into the light. And what I have learned in 12 step, that telling it to somebody who is understanding and compassionate and all of that, and isn't judging me, and having that person look at me after I tell them something and they go, you know, I love you, is an amazing thing, because all of a sudden the windows have opened up and all that garbage and that stink is gone. It goes out the window. Because it's amazing what love does. Love opens up our soul and allows us to get rid of all of this stuff. So we deny, we affirm, we want to clear it out, we want to tell it to somebody else, because when we cleanse our stuff of all the old garbage we carry around, what happens is we are open for spirit to come in. You know, spirit to come in and fill us with all the love and joy and wisdom and everything, and a connection that allows us to find peace in a storm, that allows us to see the good in situations that may not appear to be good. You know, that connection comes from clearing it out. So I went to this Buddhist center and I spent a month in the silence meditating, and it was wonderful. You know, it was great. So the next year I decide I'm going back again, because I want to be floating. And that first year I was floating. So I go back the second time, and it is same place, same place. I'm not in the same place, but the place is the same place. And I'm going and I'm having the worst time. I mean, this stuff is just, I have all kinds of stuff coming up. I've never suffered from anxiety. I was anxious. I had all this anxiety coming up. I tried everything. I tried eating, which usually works. Eating didn't work because the food there was very good. I tried walking out in the woods because that usually works. That didn't work. I tried everything. And then finally, I just decided that I was going to sit and meditate and feel this anxiety until it went. And what happened was, in the silence, connecting with a higher power, the anxiety was removed. Because when we open ourselves up to spirit, it is amazing what spirit can do. And I also spoke to the teacher. They had these Buddhist teachers that you get 15 minutes to talk, and they decided, after I explained all that was going on, that I needed an hour because I had all this stuff coming up. So it's a good thing it's not perfection. You know, one of the things I love about the 12 steps, it's progress, not perfection. I'm never going to be perfect. I just need to be moving in the right direction. And one thing to do that is looking at my old stuff and sharing it with someone, because sometimes when we share it with someone, we find out, you know, it's not so bad. Also, you know, we think we're the only ones who think the way that we think, right? All this negative thinking we have in our heads, we think we're the only person who thinks that way, you know, and if we share it with someone, they're going to say, oh my God, I can't believe that you think that way. Instead, most likely they're going to go, oh, you know what? I have the same thing. I think the same way. And all of a sudden, when you hear someone say, oh, I've done that, or I think that way, you go, oh, I'm not that crazy. I'm not even that unique. And because we all share so much of the same stuff, we don't realize it. So it is important for us to clear out our stuff. And that's why unity, you know, we talk a lot about affirmations, but unity, especially the early unity writers, spoke a lot about denial and affirmation, because you got to get rid of that old stuff. We got to get new wineskins to put the wine in. So I want you to take a moment and close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. You know, we all have something inside of us that we might be carrying that just is causing us anxiety, distress, stress, dis-ease. It's like this albatross that's hanging around our neck. We're like a chain and ball on our legs, so we can't seem to move forward because we're being held back by this negative energy, this negative thinking, this negative ideas of who we are. We're carrying the garbage of our past inside the vehicle, which is our body. And we have to know that it is time to open the windows of our soul so that we can discard this stuff. So we can be a clear channel for God's grace, for God's ideas, and for God's love. When we do that, the world is still going to happen. Stuff is still going to happen. But somehow we will find the inner strength, the courage, and the faith and trust that God is in charge. I love to say God is large and in charge. And God never gives me anything that I cannot handle. Although sometimes God gives me more things than I think I can handle, I have to trust that Father knows best. God knows best. And so whatever is going on, I know this too is God. This too is good. And this too is meant for me. And so I release and I let go. And I let God be God. And so it is. Amen. So we today we're going to have a picnic. If the weather's a little wet out there, so we're going to do a picnic in the foyer because I was out there earlier. It might be dry now, but it was pretty wet. And next week for fellowship, we're going to have a potluck. So all I'm asking is just bring something to share. You don't have to cook anything. You can bring some cheese and crackers or, something like that. You don't need to go spend the whole week cooking, or kind of have like some gourmet thing, just something so we can all share. There's something about breaking bread and sharing food with friends that is very special. And so that's what we're going to do on Wednesday at 5:00. We do spirit walkers. And what we do is we meet here and we walk and we talk about a topic. Someone brings up a topic that may be bugging them or that they might want clarification on, or they may want to have a discussion about, and we talk about it as we're walking. There's just something wonderful about being in the fresh air, and it's so beautiful here. And it's Montreal and it's August. So, you got to take advantage of the outside as much as you can. I do, and I'm not even going to be here for the winter. So, I'm going to be somewhere warm, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll see what